In a small, forgotten village nestled deep in the woods, there was a legend that no one dared to speak of. The tale of Annabella, a cursed doll, had haunted the village for generations. Her creation was shrouded in mystery, but those who knew the truth kept silent, fearing the wrath that came with her name. The beginning. Centuries ago, an old toymaker named Alaric lived in the village. Alaric was known for crafting lifelike dolls that seemed to possess a soul of their own. However, despite his fame, Alaric harbored a deep sorrow. His beloved daughter, Bella, had died at a young age. Grief-stricken, Alaric sought forbidden knowledge to bring her back. He delved into ancient texts and rituals, eventually learning of a dark spell that could bind a soul to an object. Consumed by his grief and madness, Alaric crafted his finest doll, naming her Annabella, in memory of his lost child. On a stormy night, he performed the ritual, invoking dark forces to bind Bella's soul to the doll. The ritual succeeded, but not in the way Alaric had hoped. Instead of reviving his daughter's gentle spirit, something far more sinister took hold of the doll. Annabella's eyes, once painted with care, now gleamed with malevolence. The curse. Annabella was no ordinary doll. Anyone who came into contact with her would soon face horrifying nightmares, their darkest fears manifesting in real life. The doll was passed down from family to family, often abandoned when strange accidents or deaths occurred. Villagers whispered that Annabella was seeking revenge, not just for Bella's untimely death, but for Alaric's unforgivable act of binding a soul to a lifeless form. As the years passed, the doll's legend grew. Those who dared touch Annabella would first experience whispers in the night, followed by eerie visions of the past. They would hear a child's laughter echoing through empty halls, see shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their homes, and find the doll inexplicably moving from place to place. The present. In modern times, a young woman named Claire inherited an old family mansion in the village, unaware of the dark history that surrounded it. While cleaning the attic, she found an ornate box covered in dust. Inside was Annabella, her porcelain face cracked but still eerily lifelike. Claire, unfamiliar with the village's dark past, placed the doll on her shelf, thinking it a quaint antique. That night, Claire's dreams were filled with terrifying visions, a young girl calling out to her from the shadows, her voice filled with sorrow and rage. The next day, Claire noticed strange things happening around the house. Objects were moved, cold drafts swept through rooms with no windows, and at night, she could hear faint footsteps, even though she lived alone. As days turned into weeks, Claire's mental state began to unravel. She started to hear voices, whispering her name, urging her to do things, terrible things. Annabella's presence grew stronger, her malevolent influence spreading through the house. The doll would appear in different rooms, its cold, dead eyes following Claire wherever she went. Desperate, Claire sought out the village elders, who reluctantly told her the story of Annabella. They warned her that the doll could not simply be discarded or destroyed, for the spirit within was bound by a curse that could not be undone. The only way to rid herself of Annabella was to return her to the toymaker's old workshop, deep in the heart of the woods, and perform a cleansing ritual that would free the trapped soul. The final confrontation. With no other option, Claire ventured into the dark, foreboding forest, carrying the cursed doll. The deeper she went, the more the forest seemed to close in around her, as if Annabella's power was drawing her towards some dark fate. At the heart of the woods stood the remnants of Alaric's workshop, a place long abandoned, yet still reeking of dark magic. As Claire began the ritual, the wind howled, and the shadows danced in the flickering candlelight. Annabella's porcelain face cracked further, her eyes glowing with a sinister light. The air grew thick with tension, and Claire could feel the presence of the entity trapped within the doll, angry, vengeful, and desperate to escape. Just as Claire completed the final incantation, the ground beneath her trembled, and a piercing scream echoed through the night. Annabella's porcelain body shattered, and a dark, ethereal figure emerged, a twisted version of Bella, filled with rage and sorrow. But instead of attacking, the spirit seemed to waver, torn between vengeance and release. In that moment, Claire whispered a final prayer, asking for Bella's soul to find peace. The spirit let out a mournful wail before dissolving into the night, leaving behind only silence. The aftermath. Claire returned to the village, forever changed by her encounter with Annabella. The doll was gone, but the memory of its curse lingered. Though the village was finally free of Annabella's dark presence, the legend of the cursed doll would never be forgotten. And somewhere, in the deepest shadows of the forest, the remnants of the doll still lie, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to stumble upon them. That was the story of Annabella, the Cursed Doll. A tale of grief, dark magic, and the consequences of tampering with forces beyond understanding.